Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not to Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Walking Dead. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we're kind of picking up when everyone got scattered. In this particular episode, we're focusing on Daryl's story. So I thought something was really interesting when one of them, we focus on, the person's eyes, and I was like, and the way that person was hesitant around Daryl, I'm like, it's going to be Leah, isn't it? Especially because it's there was also a focus on Dog in that situation as well. But the moment that person picked up Dog and threw, I was like, oh! But it's it turns out Dog's okay, especially later on when that person ends up seeing Dog, and I'm like, yeah, it's definitely got to be Leah. And then, that's the beauty and tragedy of this world. You never know when you'll meet someone again, but also you don't know what circumstances you'll meet them again, whether they're friend or enemy, and that's happened time and time again throughout this series. And I mean, to be fair, it's you kind of got the feeling that would circle back in some shape or form for the Leah thing, but you also don't know if it was simply going to be a one-off. Because there are things of it could just be a story of right, here's someone that Daryl met and it ended up being an impactful meeting, and he built something with her, but he ended up choosing his family, being there for them over being with her, and it's obviously he's just let me go, I'll take Dog and go, but Dog doesn't want to go with him, and she's like, I always thought he liked you more than me. I mean, to be fair, he hasn't seen you in so long, so obviously he's stuck with Daryl, but now it's wait, I found my master again, so of course I'm going to be chilling here. So Daryl wanted just to bounce, but no. As you did see him going in, you did see him kind of doing the thing with his fingers, so I was it seems like he's most likely counting everybody that's there, and he is. It turns out there's only a total of 15 people there at that facility. But, yeah, it turns out she's a part of that group. And it does answer the question, when Gabriel had that encounter with that dude last episode, he was saying what he was saying, I was like, oh, you're religious. I was like, is this going to be a religious group? Turns out it's a super religious group. Interestingly enough, Leah's trying to pump him for information about basically Maggie, which now part of me wonders, did Maggie never tell the real story about Meridian? Did she cover up some of those things about what she's done? The reason why I say that is because why would this group want to come after you so hard if you make it seem because you're making it seem like that group just kind of came and wiped your people out. So why would they be coming after you this hard? Why would they be? Maybe because they feel it's God's, God gave them this mission, so they need to wipe you out. I don't know. Maybe because it's right, you're the unrighteous, you're not the chosen few, so we're the chosen few, so we have to be the ones that kind of burn and ravage it. Kind of we're kind of so much can be reborn from the ashes type of thing, almost, of how people are forged in fire type of thing. So that's what I'm wondering, is that the reason why they're doing that? It just gives you the feeling right, I mean, because everyone in this series has always done stuff they're not happy about. It's not oh, we've only killed walkers and no, it's no, they've all killed people, Daryl's been in wars, obviously, over the course of this series. A great example of it most recently would be the one against the Whisperers. Obviously, before that was Negan and the Saviors. So it begs the question, maybe Maggie's group did some stuff that Maggie's not necessarily proud of, because she's probably afraid if she told the Alexandria crew, they might be a little hesitant, because maybe it's right, anytime they've ever got mixed up in a war, it's not necessarily that they came looking for the fight kind of came to them and they fought back. Maybe, in some cases, I feel a lot of cases, they don't always go looking for the fight finds them, but they always ready to knuckle drag out if they have to, the crew that we've kind of followed over the course of the series. But I'm like I said, it could just easily be they're religious fanatics and just kind of no, it's not that Maggie's group did anything. I don't know. It's so weird, why they would do that. Not less it's because Maggie and her group struck back after what happened to Meridian. Because it seems so it doesn't equate evenly, I mean, because it's like, why did Negan do what he did? He wanted to set an example because, like, oh, you came and killed my people. So, like, that was him striking back. You bite the hand that kind of feeds you. You guys kind of belong to me now type of thing. But it's like, I'm curious. There's definitely feels like there's more to this story that we're just not getting now. Whether it's from their point, whether it's from this group's point of view, or whether it's from Maggie's point of view. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But Leah's trying to pump him information about her, which Daryl's kind of like, no, I got supplies from these people. I don't know these people. I was with them for like a week. It's all he's saying. And obviously Leah's getting the feeling like, no, you're lying to me and stuff, to the point they're like waterboarding him for information. And now, like, considering the fact that they're doing those type of tactics, you're like, you kind of see a little bit of where, like, why they go to such tactics. It's like, okay, can you find out not only were they in the military, but even like Daryl finding out that they were actually mercenaries, and for her, Leah, it's like, why does it matter? Like, the distinction is pretty much the same thing. Because a lot of people came home to not have enough money to pay for stuff, have a decent enough living. So becoming a merc, because it turns out the leader of this group, his name is Pope. A very befitting name for, like I said, they turned into religious fanatics to a certain extent, because it's like, because of their circumstances of like going off to war and all that they saw, it's like we were just nothing but pieces to like the politicians. They talked about seeing God, but they never saw God. We saw God in the blood, the death, and the chaos that we saw, overseas and stuff like that. And obviously coming back and not having a lot of people having injuries, and obviously not being in the best state of mind, plus not being able to like feed themselves in the sense of like having enough money for a home. That's kind of how it kind of gets explained about like why they went into the private sector and became the mercenaries, doing what it was necessary. Which that's obviously a point for Leah of like, do you have no right to judge me and my family? Because for her, it's like, it turns out one of the people that got killed during all of this was her a brother in arms for her, and it hit close to home. She hasn't lost anyone this close to her since she lost Daryl, which Daryl was like, you didn't lose me. I came back to find you, but you were gone. And she's like, it doesn't matter. Because I asked you to make a choice, and you chose them over me, And for him, it was like, I was scared. And she's like, of what? And he was like, of letting go. Because letting go of everything that he's ever known would also be letting go of like the guilt he felt about the Rick situation, all that they had been through together since like they met up at it. Like, that this group is his family. So obviously the complicated situation with him and Carol, it's like letting go of all that. Like, it would meant like, I guess in his mind it would have been like, is it really right for me to have a fresh start? Because that means I'd have to leave behind everything. And I think Daryl has ample reason why he needs to stay behind now, because it's like, right, he needs to stay behind for Judith, for everyone that's around him, because these people are his family. And not just because of Judith, but he has ample reason to stay around, because these are the people, this is the people, this is the family he's made for himself, that, that, yeah, he wasn't in the best spot at the time when he met Leah, so that kind of, because it was like right after everything happened with Rick, because he believed Rick to be dead, so now it's a situation of the circumstances have changed, so he still feels what he does for Leah, but this is for the purpose of, I'm just trying to survive for right now. I'm trying to get as much information as I can, because I'm going to probably be playing court. Like, very similar to like Negan with the Whispers, but hopefully it doesn't go to the same extremes that it did with Negan in that regard. We'll see, but he has like ample reason to protect the people he cares about, but he also cares about Leah. So I'm also wondering, is he going to try and pull her away from this group? Because he's made his choice, but she's also made hers, but maybe it's not cemented. Like, maybe she can be convinced to come away from this, because because for her, it's like, right, like, we would have never worked out anyway, like, some love or anything like that. We can't build something like that in this world. It's like, do you believe that, or is that your family? And which for her, it's like, you've killed people before, like, you really have no right to kind of judge me when it comes to all of this. Because she obviously still does care for him, because she stopped, like, the torture for part way through there, like, he's about to break. But she's like, no, I can get the information out of him. Obviously, like, he runs into a guy from the group. He's like, Daryl, you okay? The others, he's like, hey, man, don't talk to me like you know me. we met, like, just because you gave me a piece of, like, some grain, a bag of grain, I don't know you. Like, this is your business, not mine. You get it? So shut up and stop talking to me. The guy's like, all right, I got you. I always knew you were a piece of crap there. Like, you know, so playing into it, like, right, don't tell them anything. Because the last thing they need to know is, like, the structure of our group, considering, like, there's only a few of them left. But I think what he did is ended up pointing them towards the tougher people in the group. Like, he had to give them some information so they trust him, but he didn't give too much information because he's like, right, the woman, Maggie, the tall dude that talks too much, Negan, and the priest being Gabriel. I think it's like he gave them 3 people enough to know, like, right, I know that they'll be okay if push comes to shove. I had to give him information at least about the people I know, because he doesn't really know everyone else like that, but at least, like, I think for him it's like those 3 will be okay. I know what they're capable of, so they'll be okay. Like, if I give up information about them, vague information, not deep, you know, enough information. We'll see whether that shallow amount of information is going to be enough, and whether or not he's going to be questioning about things further to kind of get more details about them. But he essentially is lying that, right, there's someone going off to, like, that was going to meet up with, like, more forces, like 2 or 3 times more forces than Pope and his crew is. So obviously trying to make them seem bigger than what they are, more threatening. Granted, yes, there are more people, but granted, like, Alexandria is too far away for them to, like, rally up those amount of people. So, like, the scattered number is all that they have, but you have to present yourself. You know, that's a whole, like, you know, it's not supposed to be a thing of, like, when you're in a wild, supposed to be, isn't that supposed to be, like, when you're dealing with a bear or something, you're supposed to make yourself bigger than what you are, at least some animals. I'm not saying that is the go-to move, but I'm saying, I think that's supposed to be what you're supposed to do. I don't know. So that's kind of what, you know, he's bluffing in this regard, so thought that was kind of a fascinating development in that regard. But Leah kind of talks to Pope about, like, right, I told you, like, he would be useful, but Pope's like, right, the reason we're in this situation in the first place is we missed a day of being able to track down those people. So that's probably also another element to it as well. Like, Daryl probably, like, knew, like, all right, looking how much time passes, like, right, I want to give, like, the others more of a head start, because, like, the more they're focused on me and try to pump me for information, the less likely they're out there looking for other people. So that's another thing too, probably, like, thinking tactically, like, to string them along maybe. So, you know, but it's like, right, because you wanted to run into, like, an ex, which even she's like, I always made it clear he was someone that was important to me, that I had feelings for. I never hid that fact. And so she talks about the fact is that it's like, Daryl's like us. He doesn't fear anything. He doesn't fear death. So, like, he's actually perfect to be amongst one of us. He's just like us. You know, there's some kinship there. So, because obviously, Daryl wanted to meet Pope, and because it turns out, like, Leah's the one that he trusts the most, and she's like, right, she's there setting up the meeting and everything, and then gets locked in a room, and then, like, oh, there's oil, like, and then a fire started. I was like, at first I was like, this is all a test, isn't it? Because I was like, does he really not trust Leah? But I'm like, nah, this seems like too much like a test. You know, they managed to break out of there. And it turns out Daryl did pass the test, because that's what it was. And it is in that moment just kind of being like, damn, knowing that you lied to me made me think that you were in danger, and this was all some ploy. And once again, Pope seeing the whole thing of, like, right, forged to fire. So him and Daryl sit down and kind of talk. The reason why he is kind of the religious person that he is, this group is, like, the God group that they are, because he's like, right, do you believe in God? And Daryl's like, no, not anymore. You know, I guess it's like, all I can do is believe him. He's like, but why would you do that? Because you're not him in the sense of God. And it's like, basically, like, they've been through wars before, but obviously when the fall happened, it was a whole other type of war dealing with the dead, and the politicians decided to do what they were going to do and bombed a whole bunch of places. It's like, we took shelter in this one place, a whole entire place, like, everything else around us burned down except for the place we were in. He looked around and it's like, none of us were bleeding, scratched, or burned. We were God's chosen few. It was like, okay. So there was already that religious angle, but I think through the, like, considering everything that they've been through, they now feel like, oh, we're God's chosen warriors. We're chosen to be here. what your grand goal is, whether it's like you're trying to save the world or whether you think like, no, we're meant to be the only survivors because God shows us we will be the ones that survive. Whatever comes is where everyone else will fall away, but we will survive because God has specifically chosen us. I guess that's as far as it is. Like, as far as their mindset is going, I don't think it's a thing of like, right, I don't know if they're interpreting it as like, we will be the ones who would inherit the earth, because we will be the ones that survive. I don't know if it's something as grandiose as that, but for him, it explains their goals. And he's like, right, but look at you. Did you get hurt? To be fair, he got burned a little bit, but I guess it's like, and not enough, because he was like holding onto the pipes and everything, trying to like find a way out for them. But I guess that doesn't necessarily count, because it's like, you came out of the fire unscathed. You were chosen by God right now as well. So he sees this as a sign. And it's like, right, also like, you thought that was the end of the test. There's actually a lot more going on here too. So, but now Daryl has a better understanding of this group. And so there's that one dude that brought, what's his name, Michael back, like brought Michael's body back so that he could have a proper burial. But then like Pope was like, right, I just noticed you have wounds in your back. And then Leah's like, it's been a rough day, like let it go, Pope. And it's like, right, you got those wounds because you were running away and you got hurt in the process. Like, where were you? He's like, I would told you, like, I was right beside Mike. He's like, yeah, sure. Okay, like, if you say so, but he didn't believe him. And then, because he points out the fact is, like, look at what Daryl did. Like, we all saw it ourselves. You made sure that Leah would get out first. You put someone else before you. The fact is that that's the type of person we need around. Like, we're supposed to, like, look out for each other. Like, our own safety doesn't matter. We're there looking out for our brother and sister. And it's like, in that moment, Daryl proved that in that moment, like, all he cared about was looking after her, because he would do anything to make sure she's okay. Once again, because those feelings are still there. And so he ends up killing Mike, the guy who carried Michael, just because it's like, right, fire isn't just about, being forced through fire. It's also a power of wrath. And he pushes him into fire and it sticks his boot. I was wondering, like, since his whole motif is like the whole fire thing, I was wondering, like, if that was going to, I knew that guy was going to get it, because it was like, oh, you're a coward. It's like, we run we run towards battle, we run towards things. We never, like, it's like we never run away. Only cowards run away, because we were chosen, and God wants us to run forward and never, like, run away. You never turn your back essentially to your brothers. Like, you never turn your back to, like, this mission we've been given, type of thing. So everyone with, like, Leah in particular, jumped up and immediately sat down, because it's like, right, this is how things work, this is how things operate. And you see, like, Daryl kind of look at her, and she kind of looks back at him and is like, right, this is how things are. Like, I never forget that. So Daryl still got to be careful, because he's still outnumbered, and he has to, what his moment to strike is going to be, we'll have to wait and see. Whether or not he's going to be able to convince Leah whether to leave or not. I mean, to be fair, this isn't the first time, because that's also the thing too of, like, Daryl was never going to break, because this ain't the first time he's been under these circumstances, so it's like, it's happened before. So, like, right, this isn't his first rodeo with this type of situation, so of course he wasn't going to break easily after everything that he's been through, because that was also the explanation to, like, he gave to Pope. It's like, right, like, I've been through worse. Like, when you look at everything that Daryl's been through, this is just kind of a drop in the hat type of situation. But it's like, yeah, you are dealing with, like, a religious group of nuts type of situation. So that Pope isn't kind of a bit of a crazy dude. The actor looks familiar. I have to look into it afterwards. I was trying to think, like, I feel like he might be the actor who played Blue in the show Happy, but that might not be him. That might be a completely different actor. He kind of looks like him, so I'm like, I don't know. I have to look into, like, who the actor is who plays Pope. So that's definitely going to be interesting. Because not just, like I said, a religious group of ex-soldiers / mercenaries. So I guess that also plays into why they do what they do, because they've always kind of, I guess, like, the path of being a mercenary, like, it kind of lends itself, interestingly, well to like the life of doing whatever you like in this world, doing whatever you need to survive. It's like they were kind of already doing that to some extent. It's like, right, you might not like what we did, but we did what we needed to survive as mercenaries, and we did the dirty work, and the work got even dirtier after the fall. So it's like this kind of like that shift, like that occupation works interestingly well considering the state of the world and stuff like that. Plus, you add on top, like, not only that they're trained soldiers, but then you add on top of that, like, oh, we're also, like, religious people believing that this is a mission from God, that, you know, we were chosen, so that's just going to add more fuel to the fire that is their cause in certain regards. So, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Once again, there's, like, just so much happening, because we got this group, and then we've also got, like, the Commonwealth. Is there going to be a clash in that regard? Because they seem so separate right now, but it's like, right, they're dealing with, well, one kind of smaller, like, religious group, and then, like, a bigger thing, like, the Commonwealth. I'm curious, like, how those are going to coincide, because it seems like we might be just, like, bouncing back and forth between the two, but I feel like at some point there's going to have to be some collision of some sort, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see where all this ultimately ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.